that's why.
So you said a different person did Dragon Ball Z?
No, I think it's the same guy. Oh, but maybe that's the point though, is he designed this character specifically for the game. That's probably what it is.
Oh, I started
You know what I
recording, by
mean?
the way, so
That's
we're
cool.
live.
We are live. Okay. Well, welcome everyone back to the Pageless Library. I'm Ryan Knight, and with me, as always, is my brother Bo Knight. And today, you are joining us for a roundtable chat. So we are just kind of talk about anything and everything that comes to mind. Could get a little weird. It usually does.
It usually gets really weird.
Yeah, we were just you guys caught us right in the middle. We were just talking about this new Dragon Ball Z game that just came out on Steam.
Yeah, it looks interesting because it's open world. I don't know how you would do that with like flying.
Right. Yeah, it's like an open world RPG, but
Yeah, but then how
in
do
the
you have like
Dragon
the
Ball
fighting
universe.
system when you being able to fly? I don't know, man.
Well, they've always had the fighting system in the flying, like in the newer games. They've always been able to fly.
I feel
Um,
like the latest Dragon Ball Z game I've played is fucking Budokai. Remember how old that is?
I was just saying that's like 12 years old or 15 years
Yeah.
old. So yeah, no, and that's probably the last one I played too, because to be honest, like it was fun, but every release afterward, it was almost like a sports game. Like it's the same thing
Yeah,
with
it
maybe
was like
one or
the
two
same game.
changes. Yeah. So I kind of quit looking into that.
Whatever happened? Like
Well,
I haven't played Mortal Kombat in a long time. We
me
used to play
neither.
that as kids a lot, I feel like. Well, we never owned it
Yeah.
though.
We had one on the Sega.
We did? Oh yeah, we had Mortal Kombat, the first one.
Yeah, like the first one. Yeah, that was the only one though.
I feel like we would always go like over to Pee Wee's house and he had a different one.
Probably. We used to rent it every once in a while too,
Yeah,
back in the day.
and that was awesome because you would rent like a cartridge and it would have a far save on it that somebody else had been playing,
Right.
which
That's how we
I
got
always thought
in.
that was so cool.
That's
Yeah,
how
we're
we
like,
got into
oh,
Ogre Battle, man.
it is how we got an ogre battle.
Yeah, one of the
I forgot
greatest
about
games of
that.
all time.
Didn't we rent it a bunch of times?
Yeah, because we kept having fun, but we had no idea how to play it, so we kept
I feel like
going
I
back to it.
still don't know how to play it.
I probably don't either. I really wish they would remake it though, so I could relive that.
I mean, for the two people who are curious what this game is, it's an N64 game. What's it called? Like Ogre Battle? What's the whole title?
Um, oh no, Lords of Persons of Lordly Caliber.
Yeah, so it's Ogre Battle, Persons of Lordly Caliber, and it's this weird hybrid between like turn-based and like real-time strategy.
But
And
meshed like perfectly
yeah,
in
but
my opinion.
like the way I'm describing it is not right. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, because like so if anybody else knows like Tactics Ogre
Right.
or like Final Fantasy Tactics, that is a turn-based strategy game. So there was also Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen, which we never played, but
It's
that
like
came
a
out.
isn't that an NES game?
Yeah, that was before Persons of Lordly Caliber, but it was the same concept. So what you would do is you had like teams, and you would have a leader of a team, and then on that team there would be a leader and up to four other little characters, and you had to place them in a grid, a 9 square grid.
Right, right.
Then they would be on the overworld map, and if they ran into another leader, they would fight based on their position in the grid, essentially. So that was where the
Right.
strategy came into it, is placing your units in strategic points on the grid, and they would fight automatically. You don't really control anything
Well, but
in
they're
the
like
fight.
taking turns, but you already know what your dudes are gonna do each fight.
Right.
So you like have art like basically the way you build your team is how you set up your turn.
Yeah, and then they will attack like based on their speed.
Right.
Um, but it just kind of goes in order. Like, your front paladin might go first, and then the enemy's front black knight might go second, and then maybe your your other two paladins will go next because of their speed. Like it was very interesting because you you basically were all your hands-on involvement was in building your teams, and
Right.
you literally then would just send them out and hope they would do good on their own. Basically, they would you'd build your grid based on too that your team ran into another team
Right, because it
because
mattered which direction you were facing.
right, yeah. So if you got attacked from the side, your team is still set as if they were facing forward. So now your grid might be screwed up
Right.
and your team
Usually it
might
is.
not fight very well. Yeah, oh yeah,
Like
usually it's
90% of
terrible.
the time, because you
Right.
obviously you want to make your team like forward. Because it is
Mhm.
like the positioning thing is important a little bit, like the sideways thing, but it doesn't matter that much. It's pretty easy to get around.
Right. And that was one thing I think that game was missing, which I mean, it wasn't missing very much, but for me was like I almost wish I could have turned up the difficulty
Well, yeah,
for the
because
base game.
you've played the game like 500 times.
Well, yeah, I've played a lot of it. Well, that was the biggest problem I had with it though is once you played through like and a lot of reason to play through more than once, but
Oh, that's right, dude. They had the
the
branching stories back in the day,
yeah, it did. It had
which
multiple
directly
stories.
affected like the people you could use in combat.
Right. The people that would side with you or wouldn't side with you. Um, so there was definitely reasons to replay it. The one thing I didn't like about it, and this is a very small complaint for how old the game is, but I kind of wish that you know units would have been different based on like the difficulty because the enemy teams were all set up the same no matter what your playthrough was. So I wish you could have made it more difficult to where their team compositions would have been a little bit more challenging against you because they would put like, really strong characters like in the back where they weren't
Yeah,
very
and they should have
good
been
and
in the
stuff.
front.
So, right. That was my only real kind of complaint. I have high aspirations that I could rebuild that game in Game Maker, but I
You
will
could.
never get around. I will never get around to doing that. So I like
Still
to
got time.
dream big. So
You still got time.
yeah, maybe. I was actually looking at Game Maker 2 today. It's $100,
Oh my God,
but
why is it so expensive?
well, I mean it's a full game building engine essentially. I mean, yeah, it's only 2D, but it's I mean, that's what it is. So actually $100 is probably not a terrible price, but
How long is this like useful for?
like in terms of
Like when
how
would there be like new stuff that came out that made it obsolete like immediately?
um that's a good question. I don't really know. I know it comes with you can you have to pay for all three, but you can do PCs, consoles, and mobile.
Wait,
You have to
what?
yeah, so you can make games for any of those platforms on it. You have to pay for each individual one. So like if you want to build mobile games specifically, you have to pay for like a basically like the licensing, I'm assuming, to be able to release games on mobile and stuff. But
How hard is it
Game
to
Maker
transfer them
1,
from each one?
I'm not sure. I think it would probably just
That's
depend
like
on
porting, right?
yeah, because I'm assuming because like if you built a game specifically for like the PC that scaled 1920 by 1080 resolution, that's not going to scale very well to like a phone. So
Right.
that would be, I'm assuming, the kind of stuff you'd be focusing on is making sure that on the phone it's going to work correctly. And same with like if you're going to a console, obviously someone playing console is most likely going to be playing with a controller. So you need to add in controls into the code for the controller and stuff like
Well,
that.
wouldn't you do
So
that on PC anyway though now?
you could, yeah. You don't necessarily have to. Most stuff is like to do basic stuff, you'd probably just want to do like mouse and keyboard just as far as beginning, but you can do controller right from the beginning, yeah.
Well, I mean, can't you do both? Like I feel like games now are insane. Like you unplug your controller and you can use your keyboard immediately.
Yeah, and
And you can
you can
use your
code
keyboard with the controller at the same time.
right, and you can do that in Game Maker 2 as far as I know. Um, because you just write it into the code. So like I was actually watching a video today where the guy's making like an action RPG and he codes it so he can use like the up, down, left, right arrow keys or the WASD keys.
Oh, okay.
Either one, though. You could switch seamlessly to either one. The game understands what you're doing. So it's very the difference between like Game Maker 1, which was very popular for a long time, and then Game Maker 2 is that they streamlined the coding process and like the layout. It's so easy to see. Like you can build, a character, and then you can build all the coding for that character in different little boxes, and it will link the boxes to that character on like your overview. So it's very easy to see what code is attached to that character instead of just having to go line by line and be like, oh my God, where was it that I put how big his hat was on his head? Like,
Oh my,
so
it's really that detailed? Oh my God. That like stresses me out even thinking about it.
it it is, and it isn't. Like I'm kind of exaggerating, but yeah, like coding can be daunting. Like some of these games, I obviously we love video games, but
Right, and
to
then
think
like
about,
yeah, obviously I want to talk about that right now, which is I don't know why.
well, it's just like after spending even just a little bit of time in that, doing some coding, and I showed you that one game, remember, I made that
Yeah,
was
which was cool.
super simplistic, but like that's basically where any of these games start, is like, they don't all start obviously 2D, but very, very simple base things until they get the physics or whatever they're going for down, and then you start to detail it out. It's very interesting to me.
I would love
You
like
know,
I want a documentary about a From Software game.
oh my gosh, yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love to see that. Like that one that we watched that was about For Honor,
Yeah,
but with a
kind of.
From Software game.
Dude, if they just kept a camera on Miyazaki the whole time, I'd be pretty interested.
Yeah, that's true.
I
That
just want to
guy,
see like
he's
what
pretty
he really
interesting.
does, dude. Just because like for those of you who don't know, From Software make the Dark Souls games and also Bloodborne. You can't forget Bloodborne because it's the best one.
Right.
And they made Sekiro also. But so they make games, and there's games with Miyazaki, who is like the lead. He's like a lead designer basically when he makes a game. And there's games when they don't have Miyazaki, and the games without Miyazaki are like noticeably worse.
Well, and noticeably, there's a noticeable difference.
Yeah,
So
like
like,
huge noticeable difference in my opinion.
right. So like, From Software made Dark Souls, which is like one of both of our favorite games of all time. And then Miyazaki wanted it to. So he made first. They made Demon Souls,
Right.
and
Which we've
then
never played.
that is true. And then
Losing all our
they
nerd
made
cred.
very, that could be. So then they made Dark Souls, and Dark Souls was like Miyazaki's vision when he made.
Demon
Supposedly, it was
Souls.
kind of like what he wanted to do initially, anyways. And then he was going to leave it at that. From what I understand, he wanted to leave Dark Souls as like a standalone game.
Well, I think he went straight from Dark Souls to Bloodborne. I think they worked on Bloodborne for that long.
Right. So Dark Souls 2 got released without Miyazaki. He had nothing to
Yeah.
do with Dark Souls 2. And I haven't played through Dark Souls 2 yet. I've played a little bit of Dark Souls 2, but noticeably different from Dark Souls 1. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just noticeably different from Dark Souls 1.
Okay, it's not a bad. Okay, you're right. It's not a bad game, but it's not as good.
Right. Well, that's what I've heard too. And then Miyazaki came back at the end of Dark Souls 3, right? He didn't even start Dark Souls 3.
I think he pretty much came in and reworked the combat. Is like all he
Okay.
did.
Yeah, so and Dark Souls 3 feels much more like Dark Souls 1 than Dark Souls 2.
Yeah.
So, and Dark Souls 3 was a really good
Oh,
ending
it's got
of
some
the
of the good
series.
fights. It's got really good
Yeah,
fights in it.
it really, yeah, it's a freaking great game. Oh man, now that we've talked about stuff that most likely most of our 3 followers don't want to hear about,
Oh yeah, they're stopped
since
listening.
since most people, come here to listen
Dude,
about
this
books.
one guy's gonna stumble on this and be like, "What? Who are these guys?"
Yeah, who are these nerds?
I'm intrigued. He's gonna be sitting at his computer with his fingers steepled.
I mean, to be fair, there are people who literally make their living off of just gaming podcasts.
True.
So,
I listened to some of them.
yeah, exactly. Um,
I wanted to talk about Alpha Brain with you.
yeah, that's what I was hoping we could bring up soon. Yeah, so I've been taking Alpha Brain again lately, and
Oh yeah, you
been
super smart.
I've just been feeling on top of my game, man. I
I
don't
need to
know.
get some more. Dude, I feel like it makes a huge difference.
I don't I don't know that there's any other way to describe it. Yeah, then things just feel like sharper. Like it's the only way I can describe it. Like because I was off of it for a long time, and I I couldn't remember anything like from minute to minute, literally. And I was like, I got to do something about this. So I got back on Alpha Brain just like 2 weeks ago, and I don't know why I ever stopped taking it. You
Yeah, it
know,
is amazing.
it really is. It's one of those things. A lot of the times you'll be searching for a word that you want to
Yeah.
say. It's right on the tip of my tongue. That doesn't seem to happen when I'm taking this stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I like it makes me I feel like my speech pattern is way better.
Way better. Yeah, I find myself. I know I say and a lot, but I find myself saying it way less while I'm taking this.
Well, sometimes I
And
stutter sometimes if I'm trying to say something I think is funny.
right, yeah, I noticed too. So when I started up work this year, I started to work on a new work group, and I realized I pretty much could remember 85% of the names that I had
What? That's
heard.
insane.
With it was like way higher than I would have expected. So
Dude, my percent would have been
pretty
like
much a whole.
4%.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was like a whole new group of guys, and I could remember almost all of their names after the first day. I mean, that's how good I feel when I'm taking this stuff.
Basically
And I only
superhuman.
I only half dose it. I take one pill a day.
I mean
You're
that's
it.
I usually take two. I like the stuff
Well,
like you can pour in a drink.
see, I've never used that. Is do
It
you think that's better?
tastes amazing. You
Does it
do
really?
feel it almost instantly. I used to put it in my coffee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it makes it like a mango, but it has like a little bit of fat in it too. It's really good actually.
Interesting.
One time I got that because like it was like buy Alpha Brain and get this for free, and so I got that too.
The only thing I ever got from on it that was like that was that little pre-workout shot of pre-workout, and
Oh
I thought it
yeah,
was
did you? I
thought it
don't
was
remember
okay.
that.
Yeah, I
Have you
thought it
ever
was
had
all
the
right.
mushroom one? They have like a mushroom one.
The Shroom Tech?
Yeah.
No, but I wouldn't mind taking it because they have like Shroom Tech and Shroom Tech Sport. I wouldn't mind taking it because as far as I understand, on one of Joe Rogan's podcasts, he was talking about it, and he said it basically what it does is you take this stuff and essentially it makes your body think that you're like maybe about to get sick. So it ramps your immune system up because it thinks you might get sick, but you're not. You're not going to get sick. But it keeps your immune system basically peaked so that if you were to get sick, your immune system's already ramped up. You don't have any time that it needs to ramp up to, fight off a cold or whatever. So
Hmm. Why does it make you think you're gonna get sick? That's just what mushrooms do.
I guess those mushrooms, maybe.
How does that make
I'm
you
not
like?
sure.
I guess I'm confused. Like, dude, I've been watching this anime called Cells at Work. So it's literally just about the human body and like it's super realistic.
Okay.
And then it's like also hyper violent and they fight and it's super anime sometimes.
Okay.
But like it's super like realistic about everything. And like why would it want you like why would the mushrooms I don't understand like why you would want to be like in a sick state if you were like going to do exercise. Like if your body thought you
Well,
were getting sick. I don't understand, I
well,
guess.
you're not in a sick state. I'm probably butchering the explanation, but the way I understand it is like so like when you start to get like a cold,
Hmm.
um Like this is kind of what happens for me. Like you start to get a cold, you might start to feel crappy. You're like, oh man, my nose is all sniffly. I kind of got sore throat, whatever. The next day you might feel even worse in more ways than one though. Like now you have no energy,
Right.
you
Okay.
are tired because the way I understand it is now your body is switching. Your body is switching from taking care of all your standard stuff to, hey, we got to fight this infection. So it's kind of diverting resources to that. If you're on
Right.
the
That's why
shroom
you're
tech
so
stuff,
tired and stuff. Okay.
right? So the way I understand that is if you're on this shroom tech stuff, it will basically your body thinks you're going to get sick, so it might start diverting, resources right away, and then it keeps them there though. So it can also have you at peak performance, but also ready, like keeps your immune system, amped up essentially.
Okay. Guess I
I
understand.
don't, like I said, never taken it, so I don't know how
I've
that would
taken it
make me
before.
feel. You have taken it, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never taken the Shroom Tech. I thought about getting that, especially because they have like the triple packs. You can get the Shroom Tech, Alpha Brain, and New Mood all
Yeah, that's why
together.
I got it. The new mood I
See, and I've
like.
never
I
taken
take
New
that
Mood.
now. I like that
Do
a lot.
you? See,
It helps me
I've never
calm down.
taken New Mood.
And it helps me go to
Interesting.
bed too. Well, it's
Does
pretty
it?
much
See,
just like
I've been.
I'm pretty sure it's just like fucking what is it like? It's like 5-HTP. Yeah, so
Oh yeah,
it's just like the building blocks of serotonin. Or
right,
yeah. So it's like you're just like calming it. You're like giving your body what it needs to calm down.
right. See, and it's funny because I started when I was at work this last time. One of the guys I work with was talking about how he has a hard time going to sleep, especially while he's at work. And he just, he finds himself just watching TV and just sitting there and it's getting late, but he's not tired and whatever. And I was like, man, I take melatonin, and I said I'll go back or whatever, and I'll shower and I'll brush my teeth and I eat two of these gummies, and like 15 minutes later, I'll climb in bed and you just feel like your body feels all heavy and you just feel
Hmm.
like you kind of sink into your pillow and next thing you know, boom, you're out. Like it it's and then for me, melatonin doesn't make it hard to get up in the morning either.
Yeah, that's true.
It's because melatonin your body produces it naturally to help with you once you're, you know, starting to get tired, your body's like, oh, okay, it's about time to go to bed. We're gonna, turn up the melatonin production, and that's essentially what will help you fall asleep. Well, when you introduce it, you're just introducing more of it faster and calms your body down sooner.
Yeah. Joe Rogan has a whole I know we're talking about Joe Rogan. Oh my God, it's a podcast about a podcast. But he has a podcast about like the sleep. He has a brings like a sleep biologist on. It's really interesting.
See, I should probably listen to that.
It's kind of
I'd
old
like
now.
that.
It might be like a year old.
Yeah, I'd probably like that.
It is super interesting. Yeah, because sleep's hell of important, dude.
Yeah, I know that, and I mean, my wife would know that more than anyone because she doesn't get any sleep. So,
Yeah, I'm sure.
but I think a lot of people's problems nowadays, and we've talked about this a little bit before, is your screen time
Oh
and
yeah.
not paying attention to the fact that I there's one thing I can't stand. It's someone who's like, man, I have such a hard time falling asleep, or I can never fall asleep. It's like, well, you're never gonna fall asleep with your phone in your hand.
Yeah.
Put your phone, you know, put
As I fucking stream pure information into my eyeballs.
exactly. Or they're like on Facebook or Reddit, just scrolling and scrolling. It's like you're never gonna fall asleep doing that because you're also, if you're going through like Reddit or Facebook and then you find something interesting, you're gonna get a whatever chemical dump in your brain basically that excites you, even if it's just for a half a second or a
Yeah.
second. It's still it turns your brain back on and your brain's like, oh, that's interesting, let's think about that for a minute, and it's just a repeating cycle. And if there's one suggestion I would have for people if they have a hard time falling asleep, it would be put your goddamn phone away. Like
Yeah. You're right. I mean, yeah, you're right. I think the light's not good for you either, like triggering a sleep thing. You're going into
Yeah,
sleep.
that's what I've heard too, is that the blue light from your phone, which most pretty much any modern phone or TV or monitor will have a blue light filter now. But that blue light essentially triggers your brain to think it's daylight because it's the same light that like the
Right.
sun produces. So
I know. Well, my roommate's actually got a pair of blue blockers, and I usually wear them before I go to bed.
really,
Yeah.
does that
They're just
work?
like
Do you think
clear
that
lenses.
helps?
Yeah, dude. I feel like it totally helps.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it make stuff look weird like at
Oh
all?
no, I mean like a little yellow. I
Well,
don't know, but
see,
they're
and
really comfy. I wear them all the time.
the only time I ever even notice my phone has turned the blue light filter on is if I'm looking at it when it turns it on. If I'm
Yeah.
watching it switch, then I'll notice it. But I only notice it for about 5 seconds, and then everything else looks normal again because your eyes adapt to that new
Well,
kind of
right.
color tone. Huh, that's interesting. I've heard of the glasses, the blue light filtering
Yeah. One of my roommates
glasses.
got them for me for Christmas.
Interesting. See,
Shout
and
out
I've
to
I've
Sophie.
thought of that. Nice. Is that our first shout out to a real person?
Maybe. Yeah, I shouted out Stephen King. He's real.
That's true. We shouted out to him and we called him out to see if he'd
Yeah.
he'd join us at the round
Yeah.
table.
I don't know how he didn't hear about it.
I, I don't know, man. I don't know how he wouldn't hear about it.
Yeah, like I don't know. Seriously, you don't get it at this point.
That's awesome. See, and there for a while, that melatonin I've been taking is just stuff from Walmart. It's like the Hello Bello brand,
Oh yeah.
and
Is it like little gummies? You said?
yeah, they're just little gummies, and it's not expensive. It's like I don't know, 10 or $12 for a 75 count. So basically a month's worth for $10. And I was taking the On It spray for a long time,
That stuff's
and
kind of
I
delicious. I like the lavender one.
so do I, and it works very well. But the
Yeah, like that
problem
that one
is,
that one I feel like I literally use it and I'm like in my bed falling asleep as soon as I use it.
right, and I do think it is more potent than like the gummies that I'm taking now. And I mean, there's hundreds of options if someone was interested in
Yeah, that's
melatonin.
true.
There's tons of options now for it. Um, I just feel like that the On It spray worked so good though that I would find myself taking full doses of that and I'd be out within like 3 weeks. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah, I know what you
and
mean.
it's expensive. So
Well, yeah, it's on it stuff. It's not gonna be cheap.
the On It stuff, I swear, like when Joe Rogan and the team that he released On It with, I swear when that was first kind of released and I first started hearing about it and I went and I got like Alpha Brain and I got a couple other things, the prices were actually very, very reasonable. And I think they've gone up
They
considerably since
have
then.
everywhere's gone up.
Okay. I'm glad I'm not crazy then
You're
because
not
I
crazy.
thought so. I mean, I am kind of crazy, but I'm just glad I'm not crazy about that.
No, that's real.
Okay. I thought so. Which, yeah, because that's like, I think that's a big, you know, turn off for people is when if I'm like, yeah, you got to try this stuff. It's Alpha Brain. And they go look it up and they're like, $30. Like,
For
you
like
know?
30 days worth.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, what? Can't afford that. So I think that's a big, you know, reason some people don't do it.
Right. It totally is. I mean, not everybody's Mr. Moneybags.
Yeah, and I'm not Mr. Moneybags either.
I
I just
certainly am not.
I've wiped my ass with $10.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have $10? But um no, and that's unfortunate, that more people couldn't experience that because I think it's very impressive, which even Joe Rogan says, there's a lot of other nootropics out there
There
with
are.
similar compounds. So he says, go try another one. If you don't believe us, he says, go try somebody else's. He said, I'm not trying to sell you my product. I'm trying to sell you what it does for you,
Right.
which is pretty admirable. So shout out to Joe Rogan for that.
Yeah, because he needs a shout out.
I, it's funny. Like I heard a guy at work talking about Joe Rogan's podcast, and I almost was gonna be like, "You listen to Joe Rogan's podcast too?" And then I was like, "Wait a minute. Of course he does, dummy. Everybody listens to
Everybody
Joe
listens.
Rogan's
That's where you
podcast."
start with podcasts.
It really is. It literally is where you start listening to podcasts.
It was for me anyway. I don't know.
It was for me too, I think. I apologize if anybody can hear my child screaming in the background.
It's
He's really
totally
tired.
fine. I get that.
I can't remember if I started listening to Joe Rogan or if I started with like Bonfire Side Chat, actually.
Really?
It was something like that. Yeah, it was
How did you know about Bonfire Side Chat?
from you. You told me
and
that.
I made you get the podcast thing.
Yes, yeah. Remember
Huh.
I asked you what
I-
podcast
I
what
do remember
used.
telling you about it.
Yeah,
Was it
'cause,
really Bonfire Side Chat?
I'm pretty sure it was. Yes, because I asked you what app you used because you used the Podcast Addict app.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that's where I got it, and I'm pretty sure I got it because you were like, "You got to check out this Dark Souls podcast I've been listening to."
I do remember telling you about it, and you being like, "What?" It's
Because
actually
for the
Bonfire
longest
Side Chat
time,
is good.
it is pretty good. I like that series a lot. I don't listen to their other stuff. That's like
I
the
do. I
Duck
listen
Feed
to.
TV
I
guys.
listen to Watch Out for Fireballs. Even, but
Yeah.
literally the whole time I'm just like, like scoffing to myself. You know what I mean? So, but anybody who's interested, like Bonfire Side Chat is, it's a podcast about Dark Souls, and they like if you have, I feel like any remote interest in that game, they kind of like go through and like break down every single part of the game through all the games.
Yeah, and they do a pretty good job actually.
They do a great job.
I think they do a good job. Like I was hooked on that podcast pretty immediately. And those guys do it's I can't think of their names right now. It'll come to me. But they have a whole bunch of podcasts, right?
It's
that they
Cole
do.
and Gary are their names.
Yes, that's right. Yep, Cole and Gary. But they do a
It's
bunch
Gary
of podcasts.
Butterfield and fucking Cole Ross.
Yes. Yep, you're right.
Because I remember Butterfield is weird. It's a weird name.
But yeah, they have a whole because they have like their own network, right? The Duck
Yeah,
Feed
they have the Duck Feed.
TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh man, see that's what we got to do, man. We just got to become part of a podcast network. That's what we're doing wrong.
No, we're not selling out. Who the fuck do you think we are?
That's so. But like you said, we were talking about Dark Souls earlier. Those guys do a really good job of going through, kind of step by step every kind of portion of each game. And see what they do really well that I appreciated is that a lot of podcasts I listen to that are scripted, it's like super obvious. But those guys, their conversations still feel pretty natural.
I don't
about
think it's
the game.
that scripted. I think they kind of just have things they want to hit.
They do. No, and you're right. But they do a good job of being prepared, like
Yeah.
we're never prepared when we do stuff. So shit's overrated.
It is.
But they do a good job of being prepared and having their notes ready and stuff when they come to the episode.
One thing I really appreciate about the Bonfire Side Chat is like that they approach it from like a normal guy. They're not dudes who just wreck this game. Like they're gonna tell you like, yeah, this boss is hard because of this, or this part's tricky because of this. Like they're really just like people who played the game too.
Right, and pretty much like average players like we would be.
Yeah.
They have a few guests on that are like player versus player experts.
Yeah, they do like PvP episodes for each game.
Right, and Cole and Gary are like, yeah, I hate PvP or whatever because that's, they're not hardcore about it, which yeah, I really appreciated that too.
I never liked PvP either.
I actually too, especially in the Bonfire Side Chat show, they did like some of their off-season episodes. Some of those were really good too, man. They talked about like the Call of Cthulhu and some other stuff that I was like, stuff that I'm also interested in.
Well, they talk about Lovecraft because of Bloodborne.
Right, but they also talk about Lovecraft because I think it's Gary is like a huge fan
Yeah, Gary
of
is.
Lovecraft. Yeah. So I thought that
He
was
loves
cool
spooky,
because
scary stuff.
right, which I mean I'm a fan of Lovecraft
Oh,
too, so
I'm
I thought
in.
that was cool.
I'm so in. Yeah. Shout out to another
Those
podcast. If you guys even, I guess if you guys like ours like 2%, you probably would like theirs a lot more.
yeah, it's much, you know, the structure is good, their sound quality is phenomenal. So
I mean, they've been
they
doing it
actually
longer, to be fair.
they they have an intro and an outro for
I know.
editing.
Yeah, I was thinking about like maybe we should do an intro. Maybe we should just make one.
We could, and it wouldn't be that hard. The only thing you
No, it
have to
wouldn't
do
be. It could be
is
really simple.
no, it is really simple, and I have the program where I can edit stuff. So I mean, all you'd have to do is send me, or basically, I would just download the MP4. My kids are knocking on my door.
You want to wrap this one up?
No, hang on a second. No, I have a lot more to say. Hang on. Everybody's gonna hear my children talk. What are you
It's
doing? Hey,
adorable
no, no,
though.
no, 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 no. Hang on, bud. Daddy's busy right now. Do you want this? Is this what you're after? Yeah, don't worry. Everybody can hear them now. Not right now, okay? I'm almost done, okay? All right. Super professional, you know, and we're all about professionalism here.
No, that's all we are.
um, but yeah, so the only difference is obviously if we had to edit it is that you couldn't just immediately upload it. I mean, and I like that you can immediately upload it. And
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it could be easy though. Like literally just chop it in, chop it out, right? Like, can't you just
yeah,
stick it on
so
there?
yeah, so that program that I use, you know, I because when we record, it records as an MP4 video. I can just drag it into the audio portion of my video editing program, and then I could just drag our intro and outro in before and after it, and then
Yeah, that'd
export
be easy,
it.
right?
Yeah,
I
the
might
only
make a
hard part
little
is,
song.
yeah, I mean, by all means, you know,
I've kind of been thinking about one.
it would be, you know, it would step up our production value a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I feel like you gotta have that like recognizable sound at the beginning.
It's good to have. Um, I know I get sick of when I listen to podcasts. One of the biggest things that gets irritating to me is like pre-recorded advertisements or pre-recorded
Oh
like
yeah,
sections, you know, like even if it's the hosts doing it, but if they pre-record it and it's very obvious that it was chopped in and stuck in the middle, that really doesn't sit well with me
that's
usually.
not what I was talking about at all. You
No,
know
and
I
I
don't like that stuff.
no, and I understand that. I'm just voicing that those are things that do
Well,
irritate me. Like
we
I
don't
have a
gotta worry
huge
about the
appreciation.
ads, so
Well, no, obviously. I do have a huge appreciation for the fact though that like Joe Rogan, even how huge his podcast is, you know, it's pretty much the biggest podcast in the world, still does his advertisements, you know. He sits there and just wings it pretty much, you know.
right. And sometimes he
He's like
doesn't
I
do very
got
many.
no, I mean, and it's, you know, he pretty much made a career out of being a podcaster. So
I don't know. You think he makes more money as a comedian though?
I think he makes a lot of money as a comedian. Well, and he makes a lot of money as a UFC
Oh
commentator,
yeah,
and
that's true.
you know, he makes a lot of money overall. But
Hey, do you
it's
wait?
amazing.
Speaking about UFC, do you have an opinion on this like Conor McGregor Cowboy fight that's coming up tomorrow?
I have been so far out of the UFC that
Give
I
me your
probably
wildest guess.
I think McGregor's gonna win, but I think Cerrone's gonna put up an okay fight. That's what I think.
Okay, you thinking
And
5 rounds?
and I'm saying no, no, absolutely not. Not 5 rounds. I
I
think
think I know it's not a title fight, but I'm pretty sure they're fighting 5 because it's
I
the main
think
event.
I think 3 rounds maximum because I think Cerrone will gas way before
Honor.
McGregor does.
They're fighting at
Yeah.
170, I think.
Really?
At
What
170 or
does
one. Yeah, I think
what
he
does
usually fights at
McGregor
145.
1 145,
I
huh?
think so. Well, what's
Here,
welterweight?
170
Yeah, so that's what they're fighting at normally. Well, that's what they're fighting at tomorrow. But
tomorrow. See, I mean, and obviously McGregor's, amazing, but Cerrone's been around, man.
yeah,
Cerrone
he
is
fought at featherweight before.
Connor has.
Yeah, that's what he normally fights at.
See, because I've watched quite a few Cerrone fights, but what does Cerrone normally fight
So
at?
Cerrone normally fights at 175.
Really?
I
So
think so.
Connor is coming up
Yeah,
to Cerrone's weight. Okay. So that makes a big difference though,
it does.
because that's a weight that Cerrone is comfortable at, and McGregor might not. Going up in weight is usually easier for a guy than going way down in weight.
Oh yeah,
But
I think going down's
that's
way harder.
well, yeah, absolutely. But it also still though probably feels different, than if you're used to being 155 and now all of a sudden you're fighting 20 pounds heavier. I mean, that's a big difference.
Oh, the dehydrating yourself would be so awful.
I know I watched an episode of like The Ultimate Fighter back in the day, and the one guy was trying to make weight for the fight the next day, and he was like way over. He was like 8 pounds over. So they were like, "Okay, go get in the bathtub, and we'll bring in some salt." He's like, "What?" They were like, "Just do it. Trust me." There was like three other guys that were like, "Just trust me. We know we got a trick." He gets in there. They literally put like a 20-pound bag of salt in there with him, and they were like, "Just lay in this," and it was hot,
Yeah,
hot
it's
water.
obviously it's like a
So they're
fucking
using the
steaming
salt.
bath.
Yeah, and so the salt is just like sucking the moisture out of his skin. So he literally takes this bath, gets out, and he's like 2 pounds lighter after sitting in this bath. And they're like, it's not enough. It's not enough. So he goes and puts one of those plastic sweatsuits on. They get him in bed and they just start piling blankets and stuff on him to put weight on him, to hold in heat. He gets done with that, 2 pounds more down. They're like, get back in the bath. We'll do it again. We'll do the tub again. I was like, oh my God, they're going to kill this guy. It's crazy.
Did he make it?
No, he was still over. And I think he lost because he just felt like shit. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, dude, they dehydrated the fuck out of him.
hmm yeah, yeah. I think people don't understand too that like, uh, that's like a huge gimmick in like Hollywood,
Oh,
the
yeah, it is.
dehydrating
I've
thing.
tried to explain that to people too, and they don't really understand.
Yeah, because everybody just assumes that like because an actor looks amazing in one scene, that's like what they look like all the time, and that is absolutely 100% not true. Like
Yeah,
they might look good, but it's about their diet, probably the freaking week leading up to the scene, especially the
yeah,
day. It's got to be the day leading up to the scene because you don't want to have some guy, his stomach's all bloated because he ate something nasty that morning.
yeah.
So he's got to have a dietitian on staff all the time.
He probably didn't
And
eat
then
anything, man. He's probably dehydrated as fuck and like
prob-
malnourished.
probably dehydrated, probably just did 50 push-ups, 10
Yeah,
pull-ups, he
to get his veins
20
going, dude.
curls. Yeah, to get that really pumped vascular look too. Just it might be for a 15-second scene and that was it. But they're going to make it look as good as possible,
Obviously,
just
yeah,
for that scene. Because people are always blown away when you see the stupid like tabloid shots of like an actor who might look really good in one movie and then it's like there's a shot of them like on the beach and they have like a beer belly and they're like not
yeah,
defined or cut up at all. It's like, well, yeah, he probably doesn't want to walk around looking like that all the
yeah.
time. Like that's a
It's a lot
hard
of
thing to
work.
do. Yeah, it's hard to maintain a shredded up, cut up physique.
Yeah, so you shouldn't be walking
Trust
around
me.
just jacked or shredded like that. If you are, good for you.
Well, and if they are, they probably, have some special sauce that's helping out.
Maybe.
That special sauce is rampant right now, I feel like, man.
I think it is too, and I think I don't know, like I've seen a lot of documentaries talking about it. I mean, talking about it from like the 90s, how bad it was. And I think it's probably only gotten worse.
Well, I at one point was naive enough to think that Arnold was natural. So what
Yeah.
does that tell you? Like, which clearly, you know, was not natural. It's not. You
No, dude,
cannot
it's totally
naturally.
natural, bro.
It's totally natural to look like a Greek statue all the time.
Yeah,
Like
I literally don't even look real.
that's just it too. Is like, when we've talked about this before. People will be like, no, this guy is, he's natural, and they'll test him on the spot, or he'll be doing a show that's, they test at the show. They're like, yeah, he's natural, he's good. It's like, yeah, maybe he's natural this year, but
Yeah.
for for the past 8 years, that dude's been shooting up every day. Like, there's no freaking
Right, like
possible way.
once you kind of start doing the special sauce, your body changes permanently.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it undergoes permanent physical changes that would never be naturally obtained by
Yeah,
somebody.
and I
There's
feel like
there's
people
no
don't
way.
understand that. Like it's one thing to want to
Uh,
be strong, but like I think it's one thing to like want to look like that.
oh yeah, it's definitely a form of like bodybuilders for sure have a form of like body dysmorphia.
Right.
People think that body dysmorphia is only people who want to be, skinny. That's not true. It Being a bodybuilder, you 100% have a kind of mental, issue where you want your body to look perfect. Even though, this picture you sent me of Arnold,
Yeah, I thought
that
that was funny.
like in my mind, that's probably what I would picture as like a perfect physique of like a huge person though,
Yeah,
because
he is huge.
he's huge. He's like a giant. So for like if I were to say I want to look like that, it's impossible. There's no possible way I would ever look like that. But if that's something I was going for, there would never, it would never be enough for me. So
Right.
they for sure have body dysmorphia. It's like, have you ever seen this David Lade kid?
No.
I'll send you a picture of him. I
Okay.
just watched a I just watched a video of if whether or not he's natural. So because this kid like blew up because there was a video of him on YouTube, and it was like natural transformation from 13 to 17 years old or something like that. Well, it anybody who thinks that this kid is natural is naturally stupid, because he's only like 20 or 21 or something like that right now. So in this picture that I send you, he's probably only like freaking 21. And yeah, apparently some people think that he's natural, like he hasn't taken any special sauce. And so the video I was watching, the guy was talking about how much he like deadlifts and stuff. Well, apparently he has like 600 and some pound deadlift, which is like a world record for his
Yo, dude, he's
age.
not natural. Are you
So,
kidding me?
right?
Dude, his
Right?
veins are like fucking rivers.
Yeah. So,
He's not even flexing, and he's got the ones like going across his bicep.
right. So, and the video I watched, the guy who made the video too, he is a bodybuilder. He was like a power lifter, bodybuilder. He's done it all basically, and he's like in his mid 40s, and he is just shredded. But he admits that he's like on, he's saucing, and so he does a lot of videos of like whether or not some of these other people are natural or not, and because like a bunch of people were like, do one on Henry Cavill. Have you seen him in The Witcher? There's no way he's natural. They're saying all this stuff, and so this guy does that video, and everybody's talking about the hot tub scene where Geralt's sitting in the hot tub, and so he watches that scene and he's like, yeah, it's like we were just talking about, yeah, he probably did like 75 push-ups before he did that scene. Yeah, he's a little bit vascular, but for sure a naturally obtainable thing. Like, so, and then he does one on David Lade, and he's like, there's no possible way that this kid's natural. There's no way.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It's just funny. Check out this other picture. Like this. I've never watched the video, his natural transformation video, but this is probably it. That's probably it.
Dude, his chest got like 2 feet.
So
Like, how is that even
the,
possible?
so this David Lade kid works for Gymshark, which I'm sure you've heard. Gymshark is natural. They are notorious for their freaking jacked athletes that are just douchemongers. And I don't know
Okay.
anything about this kid. I'm not saying he is a douche, but
Douchemonger.
Gymshark athletes are known for doing like the Instagram just nonsense workouts and stuff like that. But so this David Lade kid works for Gymshark, and the guy that I watched that did that video on whether or not he's natural had done another video on another Gymshark athlete on whether or not he was natural. And he said the biggest difference between the two is the fact that David Lade, as a 13-year-old, started out as a friggin' twig.
Mhm.
And this other guy, there was shots of him at like 17 or something like that, and he was already like thick, and he was built at that age. He wasn't shredded, but he was already thick. He was naturally very muscular, whereas David Lade clearly in his younger days was not naturally muscular. He was naturally skinny.
Yeah, naturally
So he said,
frail.
right. So he said for this other guy, it was actually maybe plausible because this other guy was at least thickly built to begin with. Whereas he said, this guy, there's no way because of how thin he was, to begin with. So it's just interesting because the biggest thing about it for me is that like young kids will see this, they'll see him, and they'll be like, oh, you mean I can look like that? Well, they'll never naturally attain that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So that's why
So
everybody's saucing, dude.
yeah, so that's why everybody starts saucing. And apparently sauce is, and to be honest, I don't give a shit one way or another.
Me
I,
neither.
I
I don't
really
care.
don't. I really don't. Yeah, if people want to sauce, by all means,
Dude, put the extra
sauce it up.
spicy sauce on there if you want to.
Right, sauce it up. Get that extra special sauce. I don't care, but do not claim that you did it
Yeah.
naturally.
Yeah, I
You
get mad
know,
at that
that's
too.
my biggest issue.
Yeah, I do have an issue with that
That's
too.
the only issue I have with it. I mean, shit, we've talked before that they should literally have let the guys at the Olympics freaking sauce just to see what they can
Dude,
do.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that would be way better. Just like
I think
literally
so
see
too.
what peak human performance looks like.
Yeah, yeah. Let them sauce. Let them juice to the nines, so we can literally see how far some guy juiced to the
Yeah,
gills can throw that shot put.
yeah, dude. I want to see that thing out of the stadium.
Yeah. They're gonna have to move the numbers way further back. I
Yeah,
feel
dude.
like.
Like every single record gets broken first year.
It probably would be too. I'm not even kidding.
I know that's like how big of a difference they make.
No, man. This the the juice that's out there now, I really do think that in the very like if they allowed that, so say right after the upcoming summer games, they say for the next games in 4 years, uh, anything goes.
Yeah,
Whatever you
we're
want.
not gonna test you for anything.
Right. We're not gonna check anything. Literally that year, every single record would be broken.
I know
Every
it would
single
be
one. I
nuts.
I guarantee you that. And it might even be broken by guys whose name you never even knew before
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
It wouldn't be your Usain Bolts coming back and winning again, unless Usain Bolt started juicing too. But these
Yeah,
guys juicing, it makes such a freaking difference, and that's what's so attractive about it to like guys who want to get bigger or stronger or whatever, is that it actually works. like, you know,
it does work too. That's the thing.
I mean, it's crazy. Science is.
Yeah, the future is now. It's 2020, dude. Get the 2020 juice.
I, I still think they should, man. Just let these freaking let everybody at the Olympics, let all the basketball players,
Dude, they
all
be
the
jumping from
freaking.
half court dunking.
I don't even care. Although I did see something about that. You know how like the whole Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire thing was like such a big deal because they got caught saucing and
Right.
we're breaking records. Somebody was like, so now people have broken their records many times over, and no one's asking about why those dudes are jacked to the nines.
Yeah.
Like basically all of it's probably just getting
Dude, you know
swept
what
under
that
the
makes me
rug.
think of is that episode of American Dad when he gets like the son that's not Steve to play baseball for them,
Oh
and he's freaking
yeah,
huge.
yeah. That's right. But that's kind of how it is, though. Yeah, and
It
nobody
is
asks
kind
any
of gross.
questions. Like,
Well, I feel like have you seen that documentary Icarus that talks about like the
uh,
Russian doping agency in like when they were in Russia and like how they were cheating?
no, but I've seen the thumbnail. I've just never watched it.
Well, it's pretty good, but like so they like talk about like how the Russians were basically all cheating
Hmm.
and freaking all juiced to the gills anyway because they were just swapping the pee out.
Right, which is also completely viable even nowadays. I
Yeah, that's
mean,
but like what I was trying to say was that like the doping people, like the guy even admits it on, he's like the doping people are one step ahead of the scientists because they're always coming up with ways to not get detected. It's way easier to come up with something that's not getting detected than a way to detect something.
I believe that. Yeah.
So they're like
Well, it's
always
like,
one step ahead.
especially if they do like a P test, like you've
Right.
seen Blue Mountain State, and they just do oil changes.
Oh my God, that like makes me hurt.
That's, that makes me laugh, man. It's so funny.
But
I
dude,
love that
but
episode.
now they freaking take a sample and freeze your piss and wait for a new thing to come out to test it
Oh,
again.
really?
Yeah, that's what they do in the
Interesting.
UFC. That's how they caught John Jones.
That's I was gonna say that's why guys' stuff gets called out like way later on.
Yeah, and they're like, your title was bullshit because you were actually juiced to the nines. And he's like over there with veins coming out of his neck, and he's like, no, I wasn't.
Yeah. I wasn't taking anything
Yeah, and
as
then he picks up the
he's got
whole
his
table and just breaks it over his knee.
well see, and even like it doesn't even have to be special sauce like steroids to give somebody a huge advantage. Literally taking like testosterone gives a guy huge advantages over a guy who's not taking it.
Yeah,
Like,
it does.
it's a big difference. That's where the whole controversy comes out about like the
Oh, dude, are we really
uh
gonna talk about this?
well, I'm not going to get in depth about it, but that's where the controversy comes out with like the transgender stuff where you know a woman is now taking testosterone or a man who obviously had testosterone before switching to be a woman.
Actually, that one pisses
That's
me off when men do that. When they switch to
well
women
that
in this dominated sport.
well and that is where I think that inherent advantage comes from is the testosterone. I mean, that's why it's been brought up about uh, young, say like young who were girls, they switch to boys while they're in like high school. And so now they're taking testosterone to boost their testosterone levels. Well, now their testosterone, even though they were a girl, their testosterone is way higher than a high school boy's testosterone is
Right.
going to be. Technically, putting them at a slight advantage. No matter kind of how you spin it, that's a slight advantage to have more testosterone in your system at that, especially for like a physical sport like that.
Right.
Now, I mean, and obviously it's a highly highly controversial topic.
Oh,
We'll
dude, our
probably get.
podcast is already shut down.
Oh, hang on. I think the FBI just kicked my
Yeah,
door down.
they like
Oh,
break in through the
they got
windows.
some. Hang on, they got some SJWs with them. Hang on.
Yeah. Actually,
The SJWs all have bandanas on. I'm not sure if that's who they are, but no, and I don't even want to get into it because
that's
I
kind
know
of why
it's
I said something.
well, it's such a basically no matter what, if we were to bring up the topic, even if we had legitimate points to talk about, we would probably get shouted down
Oh
by
yeah.
three people. But you get
Yeah,
shouted
by
down if you
the
bring it up.
3 people.
Yeah, our three fans have now unfollowed us.
Yeah,
So,
unsubscribe.
but it's yeah, and it's silly. That's one thing I hate about 2020 that we're at now is that you literally every topic is like taboo. You can't even talk about it.
Yeah,
No, I hate that
it's
because
dangerous times, man.
well, and it really is, and it's it's so silly though. Like a
It
lot of
is
it's so
very
silly.
silly.
Because there should be no problem with opening up a dialogue about anything, any topic. Who cares? Caitlin was
I
just
do agree with you.
well, she was just telling me earlier. So one of the judges on Ink Master, apparently, I haven't looked up anything about this. This could be completely wrong. Could be some just bullshit she read on Facebook. Apparently, though, he kind of resigned from the show. So his name's Oliver Peck, and he's like an old biker-looking dude, but he's like a super famous tattoo artist, and he's really, really good. And he was a judge on Ink Master. Well, he like resigned from the show because somebody dug up photos of him on his fucking MySpace from when was MySpace popular? 10 years ago or more?
Yeah, it might have been longer than that.
So, yeah, actually it probably was because I was in high school when MySpace came out. So, you're talking 12, 13 years ago maybe. Um they dug up photos from his MySpace and he had like one year for like Halloween, he went as like a basketball player and he painted himself black when he did it.
Oh,
So basically, like, hey, he's fucking racist. Well, so he resigned from the show, but it's like, what is going on? This, what's happening now in 2020 was not happening back then. People probably thought it was
no.
funny back then. It was probably just it exactly like he meant it. It was probably just a joke. Although the big one, I guess, is he dressed up as a superhero and painted himself black and had a big letter N on his chest.
Oh Jesus, dude. Okay,
So-
okay. I don't know anymore.
So, so
I was
so-
with you, and then you lost me.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. Why didn't you start with that?
because I thought it'd be funnier if I did.
It was funnier the other way. It was pretty funny. Okay.
So maybe that's the one.
Oh
But
God. You're like, wait a minute. Okay, he did dress up as the N-word, so can't. Okay.
either way, though, you know what though? I still stand behind the fact that it was probably mostly seen as just funny back then. Because that's
you're
probably
right, and I think
all
it's weird to be digging that far back.
exactly. That's exactly it. You know, people are digging back, digging up this dude's past. If it was 15 years ago, maybe I'm just gonna throw this out there hypothetically. Don't nobody hang me for this. Maybe he was racist 15 years ago. That's 15 years ago. People can change. Like
They
you
can.
know, I think so. Like I'm just saying. Like people, especially nowadays, people think everything's written in stone. The
Oh,
internet
just-
literally might as well be stone tablets.
I know, which is stupid.
It is kind of stupid. Like,
I'm sure they got security footage of me somewhere doing something fucking stupid.
well, that's what I mean. Is it's kind of like with presidents or any kind of like government official. They get elected, and it's like, hey, I found this pictures of his balls on the internet from 22
Yeah.
years ago. It's
He,
like,
he sent them to a 19-year-old.
yeah. She was 19. How old was he? Oh, he was
Yeah.
19 too. He was 19 too. That's not the point.
Yeah, that's not the point. You fucking moron.
Well, it kind of should be the point because that's the important part. They don't lead with that. It's kind of like how I misled you with my story.
Yeah, exactly. You buried the lead.
I mean, I could have left the other part out, and I could have completely misconstrued the story too.
Yeah,
that's what they do.
You
So
had
like
a
to do.
joke you were trying to tell me.
I thought it was funny.
It was pretty funny.
He probably will kick my door down for it, but
Oh, okay, yeah, the one guy who's upset,
yeah,
who's still listening.
we would get demonetized if we had any monetization.
No. All of my internet money.
Yeah, give us some of that internet money.
Yeah, give us some of that internet money.
I think this episode of the podcast, if we did have a sponsor, should be brought to you by this. Oh man, I'm gonna mispronounce it. It's this like monkey shoulder scotch. It's really good.
I'll have to try it.
It's pretty good. So this is so the lady who owns the shop in North Powder, if you ever hear this, she asked me to tell her if it was good. Well, I've never been back there since. So
Oh, this is you telling her?
yeah, this is me telling her. Really good. I'm almost done with the bottle. It's really good.
That's hilarious.
Dude, mom and dad got me that kit to make freaking moonshine for
Saw that.
Christmas. I need to sit down and do some science and man. I need to figure that out.
It's probably.
Oh,
Did it come with still? What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I think it did. I didn't even open all the boxes. So there's one box that has like the grain and the yeast and all that stuff in it, and then the other box, I'm assuming, has the still in it because I didn't open it. But it's like a 1 foot by 1 foot small box, so I'll make some small batch moonshine.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, so I've been feeling a lot better going to the gym, mostly because my arm feels better. You know, I had my freaking tennis elbow going on forever.
Nice.
And but it finally feels much better. So I've been going to the gym. I've been feeling a lot better. I've been feeling pumped to go to the gym. So this is going to tie in a few things we were talking about.
Okay,
but
good.
I haven't been taking my pre-workout at all. And instead, the last several times I've gone to the gym, Caitlin got me that Death Wish coffee.
Oh, okay.
I've been drinking just like a cup of that before I go. That stuff is no joke. It feels like workout.
Isn't it pretty much the same amount of caffeine?
I think it's like double the amount of caffeine.
Oh God, no wonder.
So she looked it up, and it says that it has, for 1 cup of coffee, it would have like 400 milligrams of caffeine.
Jesus Christ.
That's more than almost any energy drink you could buy nowadays.
Are you bragging?
I don't know. I don't know.
What is happening?
I'm just telling you that
I haven't slept in 3 days.
It's almost like a replacement, though, for
Really?
pre-workout for me.
I like pre-workout because pre-workout has other stuff in it too.
And it does, and that's the one thing I think
feel like
that
creatine's important.
Yeah, and that was the one thing I was going to bring up is the creatine. Although a lot of stuff I've seen
And
said
your
that
branch chains are good too, I thought.
Well, I think that's controversial, to be honest.
Really?
But I think so.
I thought
those
were good.
And that's like the one pre-workout I'll stand behind is the Athlean X one because I trust Jeff. So, and whether I should or not, I don't know, because he might literally be wiping his ass with $10 right now.
Oh,
I don't know.
He is. Dude, he's got a roll of hundreds.
So, but pre-workout kind of scares me because it's not regulated in any way. So it really does kind of scare me, especially for like younger people. I think it is kind of a sketchy thing for them to be taking. I do think that I probably should start a creatine cycle, and from what I understand, the creatine amount though in like a pre-workout, since it's usually only like, I can't remember if it's grams. I'm assuming it's probably grams of creatine. Usually they only have like 3 to 5 grams or something of creatine. Apparently it's really underdosed for what you would need in a day. So
it's pointless is what you're saying?
I don't necessarily know that it's pointless. So like, I guess if you were eating enough like foods that have heavy protein in it, you know, you're eating red meats and stuff like that have or not protein, creatine, you'll probably be okay. You'll definitely hit your levels that you need to see a difference. But if you're like a vegetarian and you're taking this thinking you're going to get your amount of creatine that you need for a day, you're probably not. It's probably underdosed, and you probably still need to supplement more creatine if you wanted to see the, you know, benefits of creatine, which I do think creatine is one of those things too. It's been so extensively tested that they've proven you can see some big benefits from creatine.
And I think it's also a nootropic too.
Maybe. I don't know that.
I feel like they found that not that long ago. They talk about it in Joe Rogan.
Oh, really? That creatine is?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I think nicotine is one too.
Nicotine wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, because nicotine. Have you seen that that documentary, or well, it's like a docu-series on Netflix, that Broken series?
No.
So there's a series on there called Broken, and it's about a couple different things in our country especially, that are broken, quote unquote. It's like the makeup industry, the vaping industry, and a couple other ones. But the biggest one that I wanted to talk about is the one about vaping, because vaping, it's become like this $1 billion industry essentially because whether they meant to or not, they got kids hooked on it.
Yeah, they did.
Just like cigarettes did back in the day, essentially. So it's just interesting though, because like the kids that are doing it, like all these kids they're interviewing and stuff, they literally didn't realize that they became addicted to vaping. But essentially what they became addicted to is the nicotine, and they
Right.
didn't realize it. So I think there probably is something behind nicotine. Nicotine is a highly addictive drug. I mean, it's a drug. So
It is. I mean, so is coffee, though, I think.
caffeine. Oh yeah, caffeine is a drug. Yeah. It's a stimulant for sure. That's exactly it. I still love that saying. I think I saw it on Reddit one time, and it was like saying something like drugs and alcohol is like saying fruit and watermelon,
Yeah.
because alcohol is a drug. Like people think
I
alcohol
never
is
thought
a
about it
drug
like that.
because it's legal.
Fruit and
Yeah,
watermelon.
right. I love that saying because it reigns so true. People think that alcohol is not a drug because alcohol is legal, but alcohol 100% is a drug.
I
I
mean, I
mean
think
it.
probably a lot of people have ruined their lives on alcohol.
Right. There's a lot of people who think that marijuana should be legal and alcohol should be illegal because more more things have been done, you know, wrong due to alcohol than probably due to any other drug, essentially, because alcohol is legal. So,
Right.
and alcohol is widely available and easy to get a hold of. And, it's just, it's just funny though. I love that saying. Yeah. Fruit and watermelon.
I think on that bombshell, we should end this one.
You think so?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
I
getting kind of long.
suppose. Is it really?
It's
Well,
like an hour and 12 minutes.
holy crap. Well, I apologize to our 3 fans.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is a long one, but thank you for listening. I
yeah,
really
if you
appreciate
made
every
it,
single one of you.
if you freaking slog through this one with us, we really appreciate it. We do really appreciate every single one of you. I don't,
Yeah.
I'm saying this now and in the future in case we have up to 5 fans. I'm saying this for you
Yeah.
guys, you
Yeah.
newcomers.
Yeah, the 2 people forward that come back and look at these for some reason, we appreciate you too.
We really do. Uh, should we real quick give some plugs? So just in case.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So if anybody would like to reach out to us in any way, you guys can email us at kotpl.pod@gmail.com. That would probably be the easiest way right now to get a hold of us because
I haven't even checked the email.
I did. So I look at it every once in a while because we're just waiting. We're just waiting for our first
I
email.
just want some freaking hate mail. Like, how much more do I have to beg?
The best thing we're getting in our email though lately is, so I try to transcribe most of these over to YouTube. So if anybody would like to follow us over there too, it's Knights of the Pageless Library. It'd be really great if you guys could go over there, like, comment, subscribe, share that shit with your friends, whatever the kids do these days. But
Tweet
leave
Granny.
comments over there. Comments over there are awesome too, and I'm usually the one I respond to. I try to respond to every single one of those that I get. So I appreciate anyone and everyone who leaves us some love over there. You could get at us you could tweet at us over on Twitter.
Yep.
At Pageless. It's at Pageless Library, right?
Mhm.
Have you been checking that shit?
No.
Great. We might have. No, I guess
We don't have any followers, so
our email would tell us too.
yeah, it
Either
would.
way, somebody go over there and leave us some tweets. I
Yeah,
don't
leave
look
us
at
some
that
twats.
stuff, so yeah, do whatever the cool kids do these days. Check us out over there. You can check us out over on Reddit. r/KOTPL is our subreddit. You could drop some stuff over there. And kind of like we said at the beginning, this is definitely not a normal episode for us. And anybody who's been listening knows that this is not a normal episode for us. We normally do audiobooks and stuff. So if anybody has any suggestions or something they want to hear or something they want our opinions on or any of that stuff, please let us know. And we would be more than happy to address those things. So.
Yeah. Anything else? I don't want to talk about the next thing until we do it because I love our title.
That's true. Yeah, I'm almost done, by the way. I think I have like
thank
left.
God, I have so much to say.
Yeah, I'm almost done. So anybody who I have like 5 hours left, but I'm gonna get through it.
God.
I'll get through it. So anybody who is interested, what we're gonna do next? We planned on doing it this week. I
It's not
screwed
that
up,
big of a deal.
and I didn't finish the book that we were supposed to be doing. But we're gonna do kind of an episode about a series of ours that we that kind of has risen and fallen in our eyes. So
Was once beloved, but now is in the mud.
that's a good way to put it. So that's what we'll be doing next time for anybody who's curious.
Yeah. If you guys want to freaking join us, please do.
Absolutely.
All right, then I'll catch you guys next time.